Hello everyone, it is me, FocusedCorner, and you might be thinking, where have I been the past 12 days? Well, things been busy. I moved into a new recording room alongside me, Chase, and my good old pal, Pepper. And what better way to celebrate than make a video about something that no one gives a fuck about, console startups. So when you buy a video game console or any of the sort, when you press the power button, you're bound to get an opening animation showing the logo of the company. This, my friends, is a console startup. Well, no shit. However, most of the time, people usually bypass this startup, saying that they don't care about the startup, they just want to get right to the game. However, I am on the boat that thinks that what's outside of the game matters as much as what's inside of the game. You can honestly never beat the satisfaction of seeing the opening animation getting you ready for the game. And what's better than that? Hearing that animation for the first time when you get a new console. It's shit. It looks like shit. Oh yeah! That's the thing! That was not a still image! That's a real startup! The point is, startups are amazing. And what better way to embrace this than looking at the most popular startups of all time. Starting with the Sega Master System. Okay, and being the very first console startup ever, the Sega Master System startup is straight to the point, but there's a charm in that. Obviously, from what you've heard, this is the birth of Sega's iconic theme. So no, this didn't come from Sonic the Hedgehog. What? Something about this startup, it gives me a lot of serotonin. This console is pretty dang sweet. But if you want a startup that actually has music, take a trip to Japan. Why is this startup so long? Why won't it end? No, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. Just let it end. During this time, Sega had a little icky phase in which they believed that if you didn't have a cartridge, well, welcome to hell. Why are console startups from Japan the longest of all time? And it's not just the Sega Master System, a multitude of Sega consoles. Heck, the majority of them from Japan are so long, it's incredible. Now, besides Sega, many game companies didn't believe in the console startups. They believed that people should just play the game instead of seeing a long-ass animation. Then what the hell happened? So while the Sega Master System created console startups, I believe the Sega Saturn outright made it mainstream, releasing in 1994. And what was its startup? I do like animation. This was one of the very first consoles to have 3D graphics and 3D animations, which was totally tubular. But then, a revolution happened. The birth of PlayStation. The PlayStation 1 became the greatest entry console of all time, selling over 100 million units, being the first console to do so. Why was it so popular? And the startup, oh boy, the startup! When it comes to console startups as a whole, what many people think about is this one startup, the PS1 startup. Everyone says that it's the greatest startup ever made in the history of video game consoles ever. And for me, it's alright. Okay, listen, I know my opinions are kinda controversial, but listen, opinions are opinions at the end of the day, okay? But the point is, overall, it's a pretty good startup. I do understand its legacy, but it's just kinda not my style. Now, you may be thinking, where's Nintendo? I've been talking about Sega, PlayStation, all the other startups, but where's Nintendo? Well, Nintendo didn't really have a startup until 2001 when they released the Gamecube. Now, before you say, I know there's a startup on the N64 DD, but I don't really consider that a startup at this point. It's more like like a standby type of thing when you don't put in a game on the DD. So I don't really consider it a startup. So without further ado, let's move on to the Gamecube. The Gamecube is something truly special. I mean, come on, this is my second favorite console startup of all time. Something about that startup is just so satisfying to see. It gives you so much happiness. Like, hey, I've yet to find one person who does not like this startup. Like, come on, who doesn't like this startup? Who? And not only that, the Gamecube itself houses one of the greatest first-party Nintendo games out there. From Metroid, Smash Bros. Melee, of course, Mario Party series, Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker, so much more. Overall, the Nintendo Gamecube, to this day, remains the greatest console I have ever played of all time. Oh yeah, let's talk about the Ps2 Startup. I have time. Now, while the Gamecube may be my favorite console of all time, the PS2 has my favorite startup of all time. Something about this startup, it may be creepy for some people, but for me, it just screams nostalgia and just so many memories with the PS2. What about the Dreamcast? The Sega Dreamcast is very infamous for being Sega's final console in the console war. Now, what do I think about this startup? It is the best console startup in the Sega console lineup. Out of all the Sega consoles, this one just seems the best. I really like the sounds and the animation. Something about it, it's so satisfaction, 100%. Now, at this point, all was going well with console startups. Xbox came in the ring with the Xbox startup. That one was pretty good. The Xbox 360 startup was one of the most nostalgic for people who was born in the 2000s. And the PS3 hit it out of the park with the Orchestra startup. But about the Wii, that's what happened when they focused on the minimalism. Now, don't get me wrong, the Wii startup is really sweet, but this was the start of something dreadful. The death of animated startups. What I mean is basically when the 2010s arrived, video game companies realized that people don't want to see actual animated startups anymore. They want to get straight to the game. So they made straight to the point, simplified or minimalistic startups. With the Xbox One coming out in 2013 and the PS4 also coming out in 2013, both of these startups were shit. What is this? These don't feel like startups, they feel like school presentations. I'm sorry, but whose idea was to make these startups so simplified? These look stupid, especially the Wii U startup. The Wii U startup is so bad, it feels like a loading screen. What, were you expecting more? No! That's literally it! Alright, now we go on to present day consoles. Let's give them a shot! They didn't improve. It's awful. It's so awful! The PS5 startup and the PS4 startup, each and every one of them sucked! Yeah, as you can tell, I'm quite angry. No, I'm not angry, I'm furious. Why would PlayStation screw up so much? The PS5 startup could have been amazing, could have had animation, but no, they stuck with the PS4 formula. It's just so awful. Oh god, please, Xbox, please save me! Oh my god, they did learn their lesson. They improved their startup. I mean, sure, it has very little animation, but holy crap, the music saves it. It reminds me of the Windows 98 startup. It is absolutely ascending. Now, what about the Switch? Well, I'm here to bring unfortunate news that it doesn't necessarily have a startup. I mean, sure, it has a startup when you first turn it on, but after that, there's nothing. Which is stupid. But that's is all the startups I'm gonna show for now. Overall, console startups, you never know what you're gonna get with them, but at the end of the day, I appreciate them no matter what they are. I mean, sure, some of them can be fucking stupid. They are part of gaming culture and very underrated at that, and I hope that people respect them a lot more as we go through the years. So with that, I'm gonna end this off on a good note. Thank you guys for watching, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the best is yet to come. Goodbye.